Well, good afternoon, readers. The Eldon High School wrestling season had another record-setting year this past weekend at the Missouri State High School Activities Association Wrestling Championships. Eldon sent 4 wrestlers to the state meet. All 4 earned medals by finishing among the top 6 in their respective weight class. That means they are considered all-state wrestlers. As a team, the Mustangs finished 9th overall with 66.5 points. That is their best output in school history and their highest finish ever. With me are the 4 wrestlers who competed at the state. We have Dawson Brandt, who finished 4th in the 182-pound weight class. We have Isaiah Simmons, who finished 4th in the 120-pound weight class. We have Trenton, Dillon, the state champion in the 160-pound weight class. And his younger brother, Kaden Dillon, who finished 6th in the 195-pound weight class. Dawson, how do you feel your season went as a whole?
I have a feeling that my season went according to plan. I improved from last year, which was a big step for me. The coaches and the coaching staff we have this year really helped us put together a great season this year, and I'm just thankful for the coaches and the sparring partners I had to get me to where I am today.
Isaiah, last year and the previous year, you're a 3-time qualifier. You finished just short of the medal podium this year, but this year you had stated to me that your goal was to win a state medal. You went out and got it. How do you feel about this season, your accomplishments?
I thought it was about time that I got this stupid medal. I mean, it feels pretty good, and I'm really excited for the next season because I think I'm going to get much better than I did this year, and I'm really excited for the team we're going to have next year, as well as having Dawson and Kaden as well. And I know I'm going to miss Trenton.
Now, Kaden, we'll let the champion go last. Kaden, last year you were unable to wrestle due to an injury, but how do you feel your season went this year?
I feel like my season went way better than what I expected and way better than what everyone else expected it to go. So I was just happy to make it to the state qualifier, and I was able to medal wrestling really hard, and I have to thank Coach Bird for always pushing me in practice to get me to make it to the sudden death overtime and finish on top and win and go to medal rounds.
Trenton, what a year. 25-0, did not lose one time. Now you missed some time with an injury, but your season, how do you feel it went?
I mean, even though I missed half the season, in practice I was still doing stuff. I wasn't just sitting on the side of the mat not doing anything. I was on the bike or helping the younger guys with technique, and even helping like Dawson and Simmons and Kaden with their technique. And but other than that, I feel like I had a pretty good year. I've been working to be a state champion ever since I started wrestling, but finally got what I dreamed of.
Now, all 4 of you, as you mentioned earlier, you all really appreciated the effort of the coaches, the entire coaching staff. You expanded by 2 new coaches this year. How do you feel those 2 coaches, Coach Herman and Coach Drake, how did they, both of them help all 4 of you out this year? Start with Isaiah.
Personally, I think it was great to get some lightweight coaches in the room. I can finally get some real personal time with my coach and being able to spar with him. And I got to wrestle with Coach Drake a lot, and he was really able to help me with one major problem I had this year was long arms, because that was the one thing I had, and they were always ankle picking me, and I hated it. But he was always there, always helping me get past that, and it really helped me at the state tournament. And it got me this medal, I guarantee it. So I was really grateful for both those coaches coming in and talking with me and working with me.
Trenton?
I've known Coach Herman and Coach Drake because whenever I started wrestling 7th grade year, me and Coach Brett Marshall, we would go up to Camden camps, and I'd get to wrestle with them too. But having them with us this year, I didn't expect it, but it was awesome. I mean, I knew who they were, so I knew they were both really good, and they would both help us out with our technique. And even though I still got whooped up on by Coach Drake and Coach Herman, it was a really good experience, and having them there with us.
Dawson?
Kind of going back to what Isaiah said, it's good to bring in coaches that are around weight classes that some of the high school boys are at. That way they can get in, get some live wrestling with us. And I wrestled a lot with Coach Herman just because he's about the same exact weight as I am. So he helped me a lot with working on different scoring moves, just like cheap tilts and different scoring positions, which I thank him tremendously for. And Coach Drake, I wrestled with him a few times, and he just he brought out the best in me in practice, making me push myself when we went live or were drilling and stuff. And I just thank both of them tremendously for coming in and giving different perspectives on their teaching methods.
Kaden?
It was definitely new for me since I was only used to having like one coach, which was Brett Marshall, and it was a change because I got to wrestle Coach Herman a lot. Coach Drake and I, we like connected in a way that some coaches and some students don't connect, and it was just something that I really appreciated, and I'm glad that they came to our team because it really helped us.
Trenton, as you were coming out for the introductions, when all of the competitors in the finals were coming out, you were just looking around and you were soaking it all in. But you had the quiet confidence about you. You knew going in all along that you felt like this was your tournament. But describe the entire experience. The entire experience at the state tournament this year. All of the special things they do, the march coming in at the beginning, the introductions at the finals and all that. Just describe that, the atmosphere.
Well, last year when I got second, it was still a really good experience because I didn't expect it to be like what it was. Because the first 2 days, there's usually not a whole lot of people there. But when you make it to the finals, you just walk out there and you look around and you just see everybody's there. There's flashlights or cameras and stuff. And but this year was a totally different thing. I knew what it was. I knew what I was expecting. So whenever I got out there, I was just smiling and I was just soaking it all in because I knew it was going to be a very fun and good experience.
So Kaden, it was your first experience at the state tournament. Describe your feelings of the atmosphere and everything that went along with everything.
At first I was really nervous, but then I realized that it's just like any other tournament, just more competition because everyone in Class 2 out of the whole state was there. Well, not everyone, but the qualifiers. So every time I looked up at the Eldon fans, it just made me feel like I was at home wrestling in my own duel, so it felt comfortable.
And we had a good fan base there. They like to sit up in the nosebleeds.
Yep.
Most of the other large contingents were down front, so you could really hear them. But whenever an Eldon Mustang took to the mats, there was a big roar coming up almost directly behind me. Isaiah and Dawson, how about the crowd support?
I am extremely excited every time I go out to wrestle. When I went out to wrestle at state, because I knew I didn't just have my coaches and teammates behind me, but I had our whole Eldon section cheering for me. And when you go out on the mat, you hear them. That's no joke. They're loud and they make their presence known, which is a great supporter and great for the wrestler just because it brings more of a drive for them, knowing that you have people there supporting you and wanting you to be successful.
Isaiah?
Well, pretty much to build off of that, it's like you go walk onto the mat, and all of the parents, like wrestling parents, they'll say, "Oh, they can't hear you," and they'll still scream their lungs out. But when you step on that mat, when you're walking out, you hear it all. You can hear everything. Like, I'm pretty sure I heard Mike say, "Get it done!" every match. It was so much fun because the best part of those matches is when you walk off the mat and you just look up, win or lose. They're clapping, they're screaming your name, and you know they got your back no matter what. And you can just look up and you can just be proud because no matter how that match ended, your town's got your back. And I think that was probably the greatest part for me.
And I know that you guys, when you're wrestling the other guy, you're competitors for that 6 minutes or 5 minutes, however long that match goes. But I've noticed that I think a lot of you, all 4 of you, have made some friends from some of these other towns, especially when competing against these other guys. I know you two, after your final match, you hugged your opponent at least twice. Is that the case with all of you? You've made some friends during this whole ordeal?
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of really good guys out there.
Absolutely. It's not just wrestling's a sport where, obviously, it's a physical sport.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk on the mat, that once you walk in that circle, you don't have any friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you and him.
Mm-hmm.
So during that match, you don't want to be friends. You want to be the mean guy. You want to take the win. So you work as hard as you can. But then after the match, you can talk to him, be friends with him. And wrestling is also a different sport just because, to me, wrestling is the hardest sport there is. It's the most physical demanding, the most mentally draining sport that I've ever been involved in. So once you wrestle somebody, they've been through that. They know what it's like to be in the state tournament or in districts on that bubble match, wanting to go to state. They know the feelings. So you kind of connect with them in a different way than just another person in school or another person on the street.
Now, Isaiah, Dawson just said wrestling is the most grueling sport because a lot of it has to do with the mental aspect as well. You probably also compete in the second most grueling sport, cross country. Do those two sports, cross country and wrestling, compare favorably in terms of the mental game, the mental grind?
Honestly, personally for me, when I first joined cross country, I didn't expect to get on the team. I had joined and I told Coach, I'm going to practice. That's what I want. I want to get ready for wrestling season. I didn't want to do football because I'm too small, honestly. So I go out there and I started running. And next thing I knew, I was on varsity. So from there, when we go into the wrestling season, and it definitely prepared me enough because my endurance built up so much more, and I'm able to go past the 3 periods now. But for the mentality part of it, I would definitely say that wrestling's got a big advantage on it, just because it's in cross country. You have a team behind you, and you're running with your team. And sure, it's competitive, but you don't have another guy trying to kill you at the same time. Out on that mat, everything goes, and it's on that mat that it's just you and the other kid, and that's your world. So for me, wrestling is, like Dawson said, it is the most grueling and mental aspect of a sport. Whereas there are tons of sports that have their own unique things that make it rough. But for me, wrestling is definitely that sport.
Now, Dawson and Trenton and Kaden, you've all been wrestling as part of the youth program in the past. How has that helped you get to where you are today?
While wrestling in the youth wrestling, I never really gave it my all in all the practices because it was I was never mentally intact with the wrestling program. So whenever high school rolled around, that's whenever I knew I had to kick it in and practice as hard as I could so I could make my town proud and make myself proud. So I really wish I could have changed that in the takedown program so I could be a much better wrestler and in better shape.
Well, I try to approach everything the same way, like I do, with football and track. I warm up the same. I listen to the same music because I don't want to change anything than what I've already done. like for state, when I was warming up, I listened to all the same songs I did for districts, and I have the same playlist. I try not to change anything, because but when you're talking about the kids club, and I'm glad I got into that. Whenever I was in 7th grade, my dad asked me if I wanted to join the kids club team. I said no, because I didn't think I was any good, because I went like 14 and 20 my freshman 7th grade year. So I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then Dawson's dad, Mike, talked me into doing it, and then I came out and took 4th place my first ever year wrestling. So I was like, wow, this is fun. Thanks, Mike and Dad. So I'm glad I joined the Eldon Takedown team.
Finally, anything else that you men would like to add to this? Anyone else you want to thank?
Well, of course, the coaches. I mean, I think I'm on the same page with everyone when I say every single one of those coaches not only improved our abilities this year, but got even on a deeper level with us this year, I would imagine. Because not only did they try and make sure we were prepared both physically and mentally, but they were always just giving us the right words of encouragement for the right matches and the right moments. And it was definitely the greatest thing this year, was because it was just amazing being able to have that kind of relationship with the coach.
I want to thank the parents, because the parents, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the breakfasts after weigh-ins, or the lunches, or we wouldn't have that fan base supporting us. I just want to thank them, and especially Trenton and Kaden's parents, Lonnie and Christina Dillon, they were at every tournament, making sure all the wrestlers had food, had something to drink, making sure they stayed hydrated, had whatever they needed. So I thank them tremendously. But yeah, I would agree with Isaiah that our coaches, I want to give them a huge thank you, because if it wasn't for them and their mentality and the way that they taught us to never give up, always work hard, if it wasn't for that, I don't think any of us would have done as good as we did this year. So I thank the coaches and the parents tremendously.
Yeah, going on to what they said, I mean, I'll thank my teammates and my coaches, because I'm a hard person to get along with. I mean, not like I don't show much emotion. Like even after I won the state championship, I didn't really. And I usually sometimes I didn't get along with Coach Bird that much, but we got over that, and once I really started to get to know him, I know that he wasn't there to argue with me or try to put me down. He's there to make me better, and I'd like to thank him for that too.
Okay.
Going off of what they all said, I'm really glad that the parents and the coaches and even the team program, I'm just glad that all of us were here. I know that whenever Mike was live streaming all of the wrestling matches, that he had a lot of people watching from even different towns like OCHBH, Versailles. We just built a huge community around just wrestling program, from going to state, getting recognized, and I just want to thank everyone, the coaches, the parents, and the wrestling program for what has became a really fun year in wrestling.
Well, men, I want to thank you for coming in today. I want to congratulate you on all of your accomplishments. The four of you, know what it means to be Mustang made. The four of you know what it means to when we say together we rise. And I appreciate you. And anything I can do to help you guys in your future, you be sure to let me know. And once again, congratulations. You deserve to have those medals around your neck. You deserve to wear them proudly. Thank you to the Eldon Mustang Wrestlers for appearing today. And please pick up a copy of this week's Eldon Advertiser, or better yet, subscribe, and you can find out more about The kids' efforts at the state wrestling tournament.